Welcome to the International Bourque University podcast. The Department of Digital Communications and Public Relations is home to the IBU podcast. I'm Engin Obrčić, your IBU host today. There's a new trend in the field of human resources. Human resource departments are experiencing a moment of transition. In essence, HR departments are reimagining their entire approach to employee management and assistance. Creative HR departments are rebranding themselves as people and culture as they transition from a service-oriented to a leadership-oriented position. These departments are reinventing the entire workplace. We are joined by Liz Bourque. Liz is currently the head of people and culture at BiOptimizers, a fast-growing health and wellness company located in the United States. Her career has taken her through a variety of HR-related roles, including HR administration, people operations, talent optimization, and learning and development in both the private and public sector. Welcome, Liz.
Hi, thanks.
Liz, what is people and culture?
It's a good question.
Are we on the verge of a new revolution, perhaps?
I don't think it's a revolution. I think it's more of an evolution. Okay. So I think, the world of work is changing. And I think that idea of what a human resources department is responsible for is also having an evolution, where you're having situations where you have, the C-suite or the leadership who really are trying to make an impact on their employee base. And there was sort of nobody there to kind of handle that development of the workforce. And so, people and culture, I think, better defines the role of what the old HR department has kind of moved into. And I know for me that that was an intentional decision I made, where, most of my role is coaching now. Most of my role is really making sure that the company culture and those company core values are infused in every aspect of the business. And so in regards to that term, people and culture, that was just a better guiding light for my team to be able to know what we're focusing on and changing our language around what our job actually is. Okay.
Does that mean that you're reimagining HR departments around the world? Is this a revolution? Is this a new movement that actually intends to reimagine, to reinvent HR departments?
Yeah, and I think it comes from a need too of just the employee base is now expecting more from the businesses where there's that desire to have an impact with what you do at work. Like if you're going to show up somewhere for 40, 50 hours a week, you want that to be meaningful. You want that to mean something. And so in order to start that, it's no longer, you're not an assembly worker anymore. You're actually contributing to something bigger than yourselves. And a lot of these companies that have those strong missions, those strong core values are attracting that employee base. So I think, I feel like there has been a global shift. I think, COVID really demonstrated different ways that we can work together. And so that sort of was this light bulb moment, I think, for a lot of employees of like, hey, I can have it all, if I find the right place to be in. And so I think that concept of people and culture is a little different for each company because it truly represents the heart of each company. And that's going to be different across the board. But at the end of the day, I think they all try to, have that driving culture, moment for each company. And I think that's an exciting shift that's finally happened within the workplace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So speaking of culture, of company culture, which seems to be very important to you, why do we need to think about it in the first place? So why do we place an emphasis on that?
Well, culture for me is really that operating system that everybody functions by. Yeah. And so, in our case, especially being a global company, we're touching 19 countries right now. How do you get all those different cultures to then get on the same page and work together? And so by really making that company culture the dominant culture, that's a way for us to all finally use the same language. That's the way for us to all really work together. And so that combined with the mission really that's where the purpose of like those frustrating days can be punched through. And so, I think I think that culture piece is critical for a business to to just do what it does, because that is the operating system that which you're building everything else on. It's the foundation. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's very interesting. So how do you expand this operating system? How do you make sure that each employee in a different country, let's say after all, you work for an international company. So how do employees in 19 countries align with the company culture? How do they participate in the company culture?
Yeah, so for us, it's continuous reminders of what it is. So we do have, it's part of our hiring process. We do 2 stages of interviews. The first one solely screens on whether somebody's going to be an addition to our culture or not. Mm-hmm. So that way, despite the different cultures, there is that attraction of what we offer. We want to make sure that people are aligned, and this isn't just going to be another job for them. So there's that touch point there. Then through the onboarding process, we're really going deep into making sure they're trained up on that company culture and helping them start defining what that means to them. And then every Monday, we have sort of a full team virtual company level call. And we have what we call our core value shout outs. So that's where open floor, anybody can recognize anybody else solely based on those core values that we've agreed to and trained everybody on. So we're not talking about, how much money somebody made or there's some more transactional things. It's rewarding those behaviors that align with what we're trying to do, which I think is a great way to, especially for the non-revenue based teams as well, to kind of have an opportunity to get recognized, and we keep everybody on the same page that way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what does it mean for you personally to be the head of people and culture? How do you?
I mean, to me, again, I always go back to like the heart of the company, and I'm one of those leaders that very much leads from their gut as well. So it's kind of an instinctual thing for me. But I mean, obviously the core values of the company and the mission I aligned with already. I don't think I'll ever be part of a company where that's not the case now that I've experienced this here. But having that, being able to guard that sacredly for me is very, very fulfilling. And being able to help us evolve those core values too as we need to is an exciting thing. And watching the company mature from that standpoint for me is very exciting. So
that is exciting. Mm-hmm. It's very motivating as well. Speaking of motivation, as the head of people and culture, I understand that people have personal development goals that you encounter on a daily basis. Could you please expand on that? What are those personal development goals that?
Yeah, and it's very unique to each individual, and I think we're definitely in the infancy stage of defining different development paths and things for employees within the company. I think it's like a blessing and a challenge at the same time. We're hiring very highly motivated and high performing employees, and so it's how do you feed their souls in many ways, and finding ways to do that. Right now it's a place where we're all wearing many hats, so I feel like my role isn't so much to provide development opportunities, but provide clarity on the paths people can take, and that's something we're working on right now. But also that can be very stressful for people. So how do we get themselves out of their own way so that they can achieve those goals? And a lot of it is redefining what work-life balance looks like. A lot of that is giving people permission to rest. A lot of it is, allowing people to recharge. And
how do you do that, by the way? How do you create an environment that accommodates personal development goals? Is there a specific strategy that you're using, techniques? Yeah,
not yet. I think there's definitely been like the feedback that I've started to get over the last few months. Definitely, I would say the employee base is now starting to ask for that. A lot of us are quite new to the company. Most were hired, 2020 and beyond. So now that we're starting to hit those like 1 year marks, 1.5, 2, now people are starting to request that. So what we're trying to build out right now is sort of a leveling matrix that's meaningful for us. So that clearly defined, hey, this is your role, but this is the path that you can take. And that'll allow us to be more strategic with, you know, training bonuses and things like that we're able to offer some of the employees, because they'll know what to ask for. And I think right now that's the big thing is providing clarity on what's available and where we want people. And it's a work in progress. We're still learning how to do that, but it is definitely like long-term vision to be able to have somebody hop in and be like, hey, I want to be there, and we're able to coach them through that. So
that's perfect. That's really valuable. Now, you know, what I'm interested in is how you really motivate employees around the world to deliver high-level performance.
I think I can't take
Is that a challenge or
no? I don't think I can take credit for that. I think everybody shows up like that. Like that's just the kind of caliber that we attract. I think in many ways the frustrations and things that happen that might slow us down is because, you know, we want to do better and we want to. So again, I think a lot of like the coaching that I'm doing on my end is really to get people to take a deep breath and you know, get that space to recharge and those type of things. And again, sometimes it is still a work in progress, but I think that's where, you know, that coaching aspect of my job becomes very important, because you're then sitting down with people and helping them on their own sort through patterns and things like that might be causing stress and getting in their own way. And so to be able to lift that off of them, that's keeps them motivated, I think. Yeah.
So it's a collaborative effort.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's great. We know that organizations that collaborate, they function, they operate at a high level. Mm-hmm. So collaborative approach is a great one. Mm-hmm. I'm really, you know, glad to hear that. Mm-hmm. And also, you know, I'm really interested in what personal and professional attributes should a prospective employee have? Or is that a wrong question? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think, obviously there are skills required for certain roles, you know, that I think that's pretty black and white in that regard. But I think, you know, that core value interview is integral for screening for people that are going to, like we again, the concept of like, don't leave dead bodies in your wake, where, you know, it's great to hit the top, but if you haven't done it with your team, then that's a problem for us. Mm-hmm. It has to be, you know, you can have dominated individuals, but there still has to be that sort of collaborative approach of, you know, we're all in this together. So I think in terms of, you know, professional attributes is that desire to do something together with other people, you know, outside the skills and the core values. I think that's pretty much what we're looking for. So,
Okay. So what are the challenges you face as the head of people and culture? I take it there are many challenges there.
Yeah. I think, you know, again, that global community, I think there's always some, and especially like in a remote world, you know, I find in some ways I'm more connected to world events because it actually, you know, affects my employee base a lot more. So, you know, natural disasters and things and relying on each individual's internet connection can be a big challenge when all of a sudden somebody drops off. But I think also too, when there are times of stress, people will default to their individual OS. And so there is a lot of coaching and mentoring, and I'm only one person. And so, you know, I'm starting to have touch points with 150 different people. So I think the big challenge now is part of it is how do I infuse what I do within the managers and slowly build that out so that they're in these coaching roles as well, to be able to continue to infuse those core values and mentorship that I've previously provided to everybody. And how do we grow that within the company? A lot of people's experiences within a company is just with their manager. Like they don't necessarily see the whole thing. So I do want to make sure all the managers are able to provide that love and care as well, which involves a lot of training and those type of things. So yeah, we'll get there, but I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges. So.
On the other hand, there are opportunities, understand, and what are the opportunities that you can capitalize on as the head of people and culture?
I mean, I think for me, what's been really exciting is that, I mean, the company is growing very fast, so I've been able to grow into my role. So it's been a great opportunity to, you know, originally I was brought on just to do talent acquisition and, you know, now I'm running the department, which is kind of exciting opportunity wise. But I think like as the company grows, the idea of being able to create a place where people can, where it's safe and people can contribute the most to our mission is it is very motivating for me, and I think that's an awesome aspect of people and culture, because I can kind of sit back and you know, like watch everybody grow as they also grow up with the company. I mean, in terms of I mean, that's the culture side, but remote work for me has completely changed my life. I'll never go back. I think to a fully in-house position. The work-life balance that has provided for me has allowed me to grow my career in a way I don't think I would have been able to if I was going into an office.
That's very interesting. So, please tell us more about that.
Yeah. So, like for example, just the way, you know, my family is, there are periods of time where my husband has to travel for work, and so I'm doing the single mom thing periodically, sometimes for months at a time. So the freedom of being able to be present for my son at the same time of, you know, being fully committed to my career as well. If I was commuting, or if I, you know, had to take sick days every time he was sick, or those sort of silly, they don't seem like a big deal, but they feel like it, I think, especially for parents. For me personally, that perspective was life-changing, where I feel like I'm a far better mother because of the way the business is structured. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So where do you see this people and culture revolution going in the next period? It's going to expand, do you think, or...
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be very interesting from the standpoint of, you have, you know, these companies that are moving more towards this people and culture perspective, and then you have these other companies that are really clinging on to the old way of doing things. And I think you're going to see the employee base shift and decide, you know, which way they want to go. And when that starts happening, I think that's going to open up HR in a way that it didn't before. You're seeing positions roll out like employee experience coordinators and managers even, that didn't exist before, like that. Those weren't roles that existed within a company. You're starting to see, you know, deep partnerships between, you know, the chief human resources officers or the CPO, chief people officers, how they're usually getting redefined, and CEOs and how they're working together, and how that C-suite collective is kind of leaning on that HR role to provide insight. Hey, we want to do this. What do you think that impact is going to be, and that perspective? And I think that evolution is going to continue as time goes by.
Does that mean that your own role within the BiOptimizers company is going to evolve in the next 5 years?
I hope so. I mean, I'm not one to like to stay in the one place too long. So I definitely, like anything that has me learning really quickly and growing. I'm already seeing a shift where there is a more, I would say, higher level collection of managers that we're having more collaborative discussions whenever something is kind of being rolled out. For example, like I mentioned earlier, our desire to be more system minded and develop more systems and processes. Part of that is me coordinating with them, being like, what is the actual experience of the system going to be, and offering some insight there. You know, what training do we need? What are those touch points? It's not just here's a new thing and you need to figure it out. Like, that's not happening anymore. There needs to be that people aspect to any change that happens, and the changes tend to be uncomfortable for a lot of people. And I think growth in itself is uncomfortable because that change is constantly happening. So how can I offer recommendations based off the feedback that I'm hearing? So we have full feedback loops of every change that we make, so that maybe we can change things better in the future. And so that's kind of part of that process there. So. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Liz, how do we change the world?
Honestly, I think it starts with each individual. I don't think it's individuals working together. I mean, I think, especially when I speak to young people, I'm pretty passionate about, you know, find an organization that you really align with that mission. I think, you know, before it was kind of like, well, what's the paycheck? Like, and I mean, those things are still important. I'm not saying to undervalue yourself to, you know, for the experience or any of those things that I think is kind of a joke. I think we should get what we like our value that we deserve. But I definitely think that finding that there are a lot of great organizations and companies out there that have some pretty significant missions. And so finding what resonates for you, I think is critical. So that's how we change the world. So
thank you so much, Liz. This has been motivating. You know, you've opened up a lot of new avenues, you know, of thinking and analyzing this subject matter. Thank you so much.
No problem. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. The IBU podcast studio is located at the Department of Digital Communications and Public Relations. Thank you.